So in conclusion, as you can see right now, in increase in price, E minus PFDV's value right now has been reduced to -3 in a country where greed value of greed was 0. We did the mathematics and we got -3. So if we were to put this value into this equation, what does it tell us? It tells us that a decrease right now in this value, which is -3, that the value of E minus PFDV has been decreased right now to -3 because of no greed. Now this decrease will lead to increase in entrepreneurship, because in a country where there is no greed, there is likely going to be hardworking people, so which will lead to increase in entrepreneurship. Now this increase in entrepreneurship will lead to increase in price. Why? Because everybody wants to make profit, right? Now this is, so how does a country, like how do we, as a country right now, what do you have to do to actually make sure that entrepreneurship is increased and greed is also reduced to 0 and price is decreased? How do you do this right now? When we make E minus PFDV subject formula, we'll be having E minus PFDV is equals to IP over E, meaning if there's a decrease in E minus PFDV's value, it will lead to a decrease in price, which is checking inflation, and an increase in entrepreneurship. So how do we do this right now? -3 is a value that we got from a country where greed was 0. Okay? So in a country where greed is 0, it will lead to a decrease in the value of E minus PFDV. Okay, when the value of E minus PFDV falls, it will lead to a decrease in price, which is checking inflation, and an increase in entrepreneurship. So what does a country, so what do you have to do as a country? If you have to be personified as a country, what you have to do is you pay attention to E minus PFDV and not to entrepreneurship. Okay, so you can see it right now. If a country is greed free, it could also have inflation, because the country that is greed free from greed is going to lead to increase in entrepreneurship, and it can also decrease price. It can also lead to inflation. So to reduce inflation as a country, don't pay attention to entrepreneurship. Okay, if you want to reduce greed, if you want to reduce inflation, to check inflation as a country, what you do is you pay attention to E minus PFDV. How do you pay attention to it? You make it subject formula. Okay, what does it mean to make something subject formula? You pay attention to it. For instance, EV is equals to F lambda. Okay, I'll pay attention to V. Okay, better than lambda. But if I have to make lambda subject formula, I'll be having lambda is equal to V over F. It makes me to pay attention to lambda. So making E minus PFV the subject formula, what does it mean in mathematics? It means pay attention to it. So if you pay attention to E minus PFDV's value, it will lead to a decrease in price and an increase in entrepreneurship. Okay, so as a country, you pay attention to E minus PFDV's value, meaning you pay attention to greed. Make sure greed is reduced to 0. Make sure greed is reduced to 0. Okay, pay attention to it all the time. Check corruption. Keep checking it. Okay, and keep checking it, and don't, as a country, don't as a country on its own, stop going into entrepreneurship. Just create the environment. How do you create the environment? You focus on E minus PFVD to create the environment, because in an environment where there is greed, it's not suitable for business, right? So make sure E minus PFDV's value is reduced by you creating the environment. By reducing PFDV's value, you create the environment. So just focus on it. So a country that just focuses on E minus PFDV, we have inflation checked, and we cause or evoke an increase in entrepreneurship and a reduction in prices of goods and services. So that is how to do it. So in a country, you have to focus on E minus PFDV. Don't get into entrepreneurship as a country. Okay, don't get into entrepreneurship as a country. Create the environment, the people will get into it. Okay, when you do it this way, inflation will be checked properly. So this is why capitalist countries are really the best, and because the government is not going into entrepreneurship anymore. Okay, the government of capitalist economy focus on E minus PFDV. Okay, they focus on this. That's why it leads to decrease. They focus on this, thus reducing the value, lead to a decrease in price and an increase in entrepreneurship. So that is why capitalist economy are usually the best economy if the government focuses against corruption, focus on checking corruption. Okay, a capitalist economy where government focus on checking corruption, it will lead to a decrease in the value of E minus PFDV, and also a decrease in price. Increase in price will decrease than an increase in entrepreneurship. So as a country, whether socialists focus more on reducing corruption, E minus PFDV, and focus less on getting into entrepreneurship. Some countries, you have governments into many things, producing many things. Like, leave those for the people. Focus on E minus PFDV. Reduce corruption. Okay, it's going to create an environment for the people to create. So this is all we have. All rights reserved.